fossil fuels, carbon emissions, plastic straws. If you're a human being living in the modern era, those phrases should bring one thing to mind: climate change. There's a lot of chatter about climate change these days, and a lot of pressure for us to go net zero with our carbon emissions, and also how the United States is mostly responsible for anything bad that happens to our planet. Today, I'm here to dispute that. As someone who is pretty much completely objective to this problem, but who nonetheless likes our planet pretty well, I would like to make the case against climate change and therefore why the United States does not need to take climate change more seriously. Over the past week, I've done a ton of research into climate change and the role of the United States in climate change. And I've boiled it down basically to three main points that I want to make for you guys today. First, I'd like to talk to you guys about fossil fuels and carbon emissions and their effect or lack thereof on our climate. Second, I'll talk to you guys about our current green energy technologies and our current pitiful attempts to fix CO2 emissions. Lastly, I'll talk to you guys about who actually benefits from the panic and alarmism of catastrophic climate change, and I'll give you a spoiler: it's not us. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about fossil fuels and CO2 and their perceived versus actual impact. CO2 has indeed increased over the past 2 centuries because of our increase in burning of fossil fuels. However, this basically has no impact on our global climate. Between the 1800s and 2000s, CO2 levels have risen significantly. However, according to Richard Linson, Emeritus Professor of Atmospheric Sciences for MIT, our global mean temperature has risen over those same 2 centuries by a staggering 1.8 degrees. Wow, that's almost 2, you guys. So what actually has the most impact on our climate if it's not CO2? According to a 2010 statement by William Happer, professor of physics for Princeton University, what actually influences our climate are the interactions between our atmosphere and our oceans. We know so little about our atmosphere and our oceans as a whole, or their peculiarities in temperature fluctuations and habits. So why do we ignore these things if we know that CO2 does nothing to our climate? In the long term, perhaps it may do something, but over the past 200 years, 1.8 degrees is not enough to freak me out. Secondly, CO2 has risen because of our use of fossil fuels. In a 2016 video for Prager University, Alex Epstein of the Center for Industrial Progress tells us that our burning of fossil fuels and the technology we have to prevent pollution by burning them is unparalleled. We have incredible filtering and anti-pollution technology. Our water and our air are cleaner than they have ever been. To move on to my second point, despite overwhelming evidence in favor of fossil fuels, the US is constantly pressured to stop using them altogether. Bjorn Lomborg, in an interview for Fox Business this year, the GDP of the United States that goes toward green technology has actually gone down. And yet, the hysteria and the number of bad ideas to try and fix it have gone way up. One example of extremely bad ideas are actually our current attempts at solar and wind power. My dad is a master electrician. He has worked for 20 years in the electrical field, and he works currently installing solar generators. He has told me that the number of birds killed every year by blindingly hot solar panels and windmills is astonishing. And when it gets too windy, windmills have to get shut off. Does that sound efficient or effective to you guys? The second bad idea, and possibly the worst, is the Green New Deal, which is all the rage these days. You guys, this is the worst idea possibly ever. This plan, which would force us into going net zero in a few years, would cost us $21 trillion every year. And to give you guys a little perspective, our current national debt, according to the US debt clock, is about $23 trillion. So yeah, the Green New Deal would absolutely reduce our carbon emissions because we have been driven into the ground. And my thoughts on that, I made this myself. Thank you. So, in conclusion, the people who actually benefit from the hysteria over the climate crisis are not us. We live in a society that has been built on the efficient and safe use of fossil fuels for decades. The people who benefit from climate hysteria are politicians, activists, and the media. Politicians use this to amass more power and more control over us. Activists use it to gain influence and money. And the media, scary headlines sell, you guys. They are not here to actually help us or take care of our environment. Climate hysteria is a convenient Trojan horse for them to amass more power and more control over us. They want to tell us how far our cars can go, how much gas we can use, how long our lights can be on, how many kids we can have. Does that sound like trying to take care of the environment, or does that sound like a power-hungry grab for control? I'd like to leave you guys with a quote from my favorite movie, Guardians of the Galaxy. Why do you want to save the universe? What has it ever done for you? Because I'm one of the idiots who lives in it. Our planet is great, you guys, and I would like to keep it safe and beautiful because I'm one of the idiots who lives on it. However, panic over non-catastrophic climate changes is unhelpful, and as we've seen, it's completely unfounded. The only way we're going to go net zero ever with our carbon emissions is if the media, activists, and politicians take a step off of their panicked platform and let our innovators and our scientists invest more time, money, and research in new technologies. Problems are never solved by paying more for solutions that don't work. They're solved by innovations in new fields. Thank you.